The news of the miners' attack traveled quickly, and the locks had been whisked away from the Great Hall. Dalton's personal guards led him back to the control center. Micah was taken to the chute, while Tomas was escorted to Winter Garden. Greta and Mal took a secret passage underneath the Great Hall that took them back to their quarters in Edendale.
What happened to Ace?
We don't know. 2 sentries are dead and 1 wounded. There was no sign of the boy.
Then where is he? Who took him?
Reports are coming in. It's unclear, the motivation for the attack, but it looks like miners were on the scene. They may have kidnapped Ace.
Kidnapped? This doesn't make any sense.
We tried reaching Gannon, but communications have been cut off. For now, we are still on lockdown.
Great. Stuck in my room again.
It's just a precaution. We don't know if this was an isolated attack.
You have to find him.
Your grandfather has put out an alert to all media channels. If anyone sees him or has any information, they are to come forward.
What's that gonna do? It's useless. Another pathetic empty gesture. Somebody took him from right under your nose, and you're just gonna do nothing?
Greta stopped suddenly and grabbed Mal's shoulder, whirling her around roughly to face off with her. Greta looked like she was boiling over inside, but trying to contain her anger.
I am doing everything in my power to protect you. I honestly don't care what happens to that bunker orphan. If they find him dead in the Barrens, that would be fine with me. Then this whole thing would be over.
You don't mean that. You don't.
Greta released her grip on Mal's shoulder and pulled back, realizing she had gone too far. Mal shook her head at her mother.
Ace will be fine. He's a survivor. He's been through more than you will ever know.
Mal stared at her mother for a moment, then turned away with a snort of disgust and marched back quickly toward her chambers. Greta followed her and they went the rest of the way back in silence. Mal got to her door first, shouldering past the sentry, who moved aside. She waved her forearm over the scanner by the door to her room without thinking. Greta finally caught up to Mal.
Your chip's been deactivated.
Mal cocked her head, glaring at her mother.
It's only for a few days.
I want you to do something for me.
You're in no position to ask me for anything.
Can you give me the data from Hazel's tracker? When this is all over, I want to find her.
Mal, the bot's tracker was destroyed. With everything that's been happening, I neglected to inform you.
Hazel's gone? You lost her?
The signal from the tracker is gone. The bot may still be functioning.
So there's a chance she's still alive?
Alive? It's a bot!
No, she's more than that. Can I have the location data from the tracker?
Why? It could be anywhere, and we're on lockdown.
Seeing Mal so vulnerable, Greta had to hold back her own emotions. She finally nodded and pulled her VCOM device out of her pocket. She keyed a few buttons.
Fine. Sent to your VCOM.
Thank you, Mother.
Don't worry about Ace. Like you said, he's a survivor. We will find him.
Greta was struggling to find a connection with her daughter. For a brief moment, the possibility of an embrace, or at least a quick hug, existed. But they remained frozen in place, and the moment passed. Mal stepped over the threshold of her door and smiled weakly. The door closed, separating mother and daughter. Greta sighed and walked away. Inside her chambers, Mal stared at the closed door for a moment, collecting herself. She wiped a tear away from her eye, then turned and walked quickly to her desk. She grabbed her slate and punched up the tracking chip data that Greta had sent her. Mal sat down at the desk and looked at the information as it popped up on the screen. There were several time-coded coordinates there, presented as numerical code. She copied the code to an application on her slate, and a detailed map of Subterra appeared on the screen. As she entered the various coordinates, a marker would appear on the map, showing the time and location of Hazel. The very first set of coordinates showed Hazel in Winter Garden, in Uncle Tomas's lab. That made sense. This is where Tomas attached and activated the tracking chip on Hazel. He had told Mal that he wasn't sure what Hazel's first reaction would be when he powered her on, so he took every precaution he could. However, he had told her it was unnecessary. She had simply stayed by Ace's side as he recovered in the sickbay bunk. The second set of coordinates showed Hazel in New Bramer, in the area where the holding cells were. Mal surmised that the sentries must have put her there when Ace was taken into custody and moved to the cells. She was only there one day before a new set of coordinates had her in a different location. It showed her in the transit hub on sub-level 14. Mal's eyebrows furrowed as she tried to figure out why she would be there. Had she escaped somehow? Or had someone taken her? It didn't make sense. If her scent receptors had her locked onto Ace, she would know he was taken somewhere nearby in another holding cell. So why would she leave? Unless she was taken. She punched in the fourth set of coordinates, and the mystery deepened when she saw the location.
The Barrens? What was Hazel doing in the Barrens?
She typed in the fifth and final location. However, this time, the application beeped, and an error message appeared. It said, "Incomplete data, triangulation impossible due to interference." Interference? What did that mean, Mal thought to herself. The last location must have been very deep in the bunker, or even outside the map. She knew from spending time with Tomas that certain strata of igneous rock could cause signal interference. But could she really have made it that far down into the sublevels? Mal was certain someone must have taken her. She wouldn't have left Ace. No way. She transferred the revised data from the slate to her own VCOM. Mal grabbed a pack and started stuffing it with some essential supplies. A bioluminator, a folding knife, a few algae grain bars, a flask of water, and an extra battery for her VCOM. She had almost made up her mind she was running away before her mother had deactivated her chip. But after that, it was no longer a matter of if, but when. And the when was right now. She needed to find Ace. She needed to find Hazel. How was the question? For Mal, the answer had come as she was looking at the tracking data and remembering that Hazel was linked to Ace's scent. Find Hazel, find Ace. But the data was incomplete on Hazel's location. She could be anywhere in the Barrens, or even lower in Hell's Gate, or beyond. That was over 15 sublevels and miles of tunnels to search. Mal knew that she needed a good source of information, and she had a pretty good idea where she could find it. She banged on her door. It hissed open, and the sentry entered Mal's room, the door closing behind him. He stood at attention.
My slate isn't working. Can you help me fix it?
I don't know what I can do, but I'll try.
The sentry walked past Mal to her slate. Mal knew what she had to do, as she picked up a weighty rock sample Tomas had given her and raised it over her head. Ace and the miners were moving quickly through a small, unlit mineshaft with a distinct downward angle. The miners held bioluminators, and Ace had turned on his optics to illuminate the shaft that was so narrow they had to walk single file. 3 miners were in front of Ace, and Carter was just behind him. Ace had never been in this shaft before. It must have been some secret passage dug by the miners to access the upper levels. As Ace kept pace and walked in silence, he started to think about Hazel. His mind was filled with thoughts of her, and he could see mental images of them in happier times. He remembered how playful she had seemed chasing the birds when they first arrived in Winter Garden. He remembered how Mal had kept them hidden in one of the massive agar chambers. They spent 3 days there where Ace taught Hazel new tricks. He had to find her. And soon. The second he had the chance, he was going to make a break for it. Ace could hear Carter breathing behind him, and it broke him out of his daydream. I thought you died on the surface.
I did too.
So what happened? How are you still alive?
I don't know. Maybe the Arpin gas had something to do with it, or perhaps a moon had more work for me to do here and decided not to take me.
The door was closed. You were outside, trapped in that toxic air. How did you get back in Subterra?
Well, that's a good story, and I promise to tell you soon.
Ace kept walking for a moment. He heard Carter cough behind him. It was a dry, raspy cough that didn't sound good. Why'd you come for me?
2 reasons. I was watching the trial. I couldn't let you take the blame for my actions.
Was that right? How honorable of you.
I do have a conscience, Ace. You may not believe that, but it's true. All those things they said about you, those were my crimes, not yours. A moon teaches us to honor our sins.
You could have turned yourself in and confessed. Or does Amun forbid it? Ace could hear Carter's breathing become labored. He was struggling. Ace slowed his pace, not by much, but just enough that the miners in front started to slowly pull ahead. And what was the other?
The other what?
The other reason you came for me. You said there were 2.
Right, yes. Well, you've become something of a folk hero to the miners, truth be told.
A hero? Right.
It's true. It's true, Ace. We were all watching the trial. You have given a voice to all the unchipped. You are a symbol for all of them. Because of you, the citizens at the top know about their struggles.
Ace thought about what Carter had said for a moment. Could it be true? That certainly hadn't been his intention. Then, anger boiled up inside him. He quickly turned on Carter.
You're a liar! I don't believe anything you say! I was going to be chipped. I was going to be a citizen.
You don't really believe that, do you, Ace? The Locks were going to make you a citizen, and you would live happily ever after in the chute? Is that what you thought? You know better than that, Ace.
I don't know these miners. They never tried to help me. I don't want to go there.
You may not know them, but they know you. Come with me. Just see them. Hear what they have to say. And you can leave if you want.
Carter didn't respond. His face was half obscured by his hood, and his expression was impossible to read. Ace was just about to continue his tirade, but he suddenly heard shouting from up ahead. Ace turned and could no longer see the miners or the lights from their bioluminators.
What's happening? What's happening?
I don't know, but we should turn around. Find another way.
No. I'm going to check it out.
Go ahead, then. I'll catch up to you.
Ace didn't hesitate and started running, closing in on the miners' location. He found them 50 meters ahead, in a wider section of the shaft. The 3 miners were there, hands in the air. A man was shouting at them, pointing a crude, modified plasma rifle in their direction. He was bald and dressed in tattered clothing.
We want the boy.
A dweller.
That's him. I knew you had him.
We're taking him to Ganon. Don't interfere.
He's got a bounty on his head, and I'm taking him in. Now stand aside, or I'll shoot.
The miners remained frozen, not knowing what to do. Ace turned back toward the shaft, but the dweller swung the barrel of the rifle on him.
Don't move. You're coming with me.
Ace looked at the dweller and could see his hand shaking as he tried to steady the rifle, his finger twitching on the trigger of the weapon. The miners were frozen in place. Maybe this was his chance to get away from Carter. Ace took one small step toward the dweller.
We can make a deal.
Carter stepped out of the shadows and approached the dweller.
Don't come any closer. I'm taking him. The bounty is mine.
Yes, the bounty will be paid. The bounty is 100 ingots, yes?
And I'm getting all of it.
Carter took one small step toward the dweller.
I will pay you what you want. But you have to let us take him. He's too important to us.
You don't have 100 ingots.
Carter pulled a small pouch from the fold of his cloak. He tossed it at the feet of the Dweller.
That's 20. You can get the rest from Gannon Lock when we get back to Oxford Turn.
You're lying.
But the Dweller eyed the pouch and kicked it with his foot. He could hear the metal ingots clinking inside the pouch as it moved. The instant the Dweller looked down at the pouch, Carter sprang into action. He moved quickly, almost with an unnatural speed. He pulled a long knife from his cloak and closed the short distance to the Dweller. With his left hand, he pushed the barrel of the plasma rifle up into the air. The rifle discharged, sending a round into the overhead, raining dust down on them. Carter then slashed the Dweller on the arm, causing him to drop the rifle. Carter moved even closer and plunged the knife into the Dweller's belly. The Dweller grunted. He opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out. Carter pushed him back into the wall of rock and twisted the knife, thrusting it harder into the man's guts. The Dweller gasped, trying to catch his breath, then exhaled, and blood spewed out of his mouth. Carter pulled the knife out of the Dweller's stomach as he slumped to the ground, dead. Ace was still frozen in place. He just stared as Carter wiped the knife on the Dweller's ratty tunic to clean off the blood. Carter let out a deep cough as he caught his breath. He turned to the miners and Ace.
We have to keep going. We won't be safe until we get through Hell's Gate.
Carter led the way into a new, wider tunnel, and the miners picked up their weapons and followed him. Ace was taking one last look at the dead Dweller when his eyes landed on the small pouch Carter had thrown to the ground. Ace scooped it up, untied the string keeping it shut, and poured out the contents of the pouch into his hand. Machine bolts, not ingots. 20 worthless steel bolts. Ace turned his hands over and tossed the bolts on the ground. Mal arrived at the sub-level 23 transit hub 3 hours after leaving her room in Edendale. She didn't have any issues avoiding the sentries on patrol. What added time to her journey was having to find access points and transit stations that didn't scan for biochips. After exiting the tram, she was surprised at how deserted the tunnels were. She only saw 1 or 2 people along the way, and they were all moving quickly to their destinations and didn't even bother to look in Mal's direction. She was finally at her destination, the Spelunker, the bar owned by her good friend Venus. When she was making plans to find Hazel, she knew she would eventually have to find Venus and get her help. Venus knew all the gossip and rumors. If something was happening in the lower quadrants, Venus would know about it. But as she approached the structure, a worried look crossed her face. The bar appeared to be closed. The front doors were boarded up. She walked toward them and saw a sign with a handwritten note that said, "Closed for lockdown." Mal tried to peer through a window, but all the windows had been covered with paint or gel from the inside, and she couldn't see anything. She knocked on the door 3 times and waited for a moment, but nothing happened. Mal was disappointed, but not ready to give up. She walked around the side of the building, passing by piles of trash. She jumped when she heard a voice from the darkness.
"Hey, girlie, you look thirsty. Let me buy you a drink."
Mal scanned the garbage until she spotted an old man sitting on the ground, his back resting against an old rubber tire. He opened his mouth to laugh, revealing several missing teeth. Mal didn't stop and kept moving until she was around the back of the bar. She saw a door there, the same one she had escaped out of when the Sentry and Reyna had stormed into the Spelunker and apprehended Ace. The door wasn't boarded up, but when she tried the knob, it didn't turn. It was locked. She put her ear to the door, but heard nothing. She stood back and knocked. This time it opened, but just a crack.
We're closed. What do you want?
I'm looking for Venus. Is she here?
Mal could see light glinting off someone's eyes just inside the door. Then the door swung open quickly to reveal Venus.
Get inside quickly now. Move, girl.
She grabbed Mal's arm and pulled her inside. She poked her head out, looked in both directions, then shut and locked the door. Once inside, Venus moved behind the bar and started cleaning glasses. Mal looked around, her eyes adjusting to the gloomy darkness. There were only a few people inside, all of them sitting alone. There was no music and no talking. The only sound was the occasional clink of a glass or the creak of a chair or bar stool. Mal made her way to the bar and sat down in front of Venus. She looked to her right and saw an old miner seated at the far end of the bar. He was staring blankly into his glass. A slate was turned on behind Venus, broadcasting news of Ace's kidnapping. The volume was turned down as she watched images of Ace appear on the monitor, with the words "Wanted" and "Reward" scrolling underneath his picture.
Your friend was going to be chipped, but the miners took him. Why? And why do the Locks want him back so badly? Maybe they're scared he'll rally the bottom dwellers?
Look, I don't really care about any of that. I just want to find him.
Miners in New Borneheimer, miners attacking Edendale Hall. Your mother must be very busy.
I need your help.
You took a big risk coming here.
I didn't have a choice. I need information.
The only reason I stayed open during lockdown was to stay on top of the latest rumors, but as you can see, nobody here has much to say. Your mother's spies are everywhere, so we have to be very careful.
The older miner cleared his throat. Venus turned and saw him tapping a finger on his empty glass. She grabbed a bottle and walked down to refill his drink. Mal looked back at the slate where footage of Ace's trial was playing. There was a close-up shot of Greta speaking to the crowd. Even with the sound switched off, Mal could almost hear her admonishing tone. More images appeared. A close-up of Dalton giving a speech. Shots of the Gallows Brigade fully armed and standing at attention. And finally, back to a graphic that said, "Lockdown in effect." Venus returned to Mal, turning to look at the alarming images on the slate before returning to her work, cleaning the glasses. She leaned in close to Mal.
This is how it all started at Echo Noble, you know?
How what started?
Civil war. First it was worker strikes, then food shortages, then lockdown started and martial law. We were so busy fighting amongst ourselves that we never even saw the enemy at our doorstep.
Who attacked your bunker?
Dalton and Greta know, but they aren't talking about it. They don't want to start a panic, but I know better. That trial with your friend has started a chain of events that could spiral out of control.
I don't have time to worry about any of that. I just need to find Ace.
The glass Venus was cleaning slipped out of her hand and landed on the ground, shattering into dozens of tiny shards. Venus looked up and saw that every patron in the bar was staring at her and Mal. After a couple of seconds, they looked away and got back to drowning their sorrows with alcohol. Venus turned back to the older miner at the end of the bar, but he was staring blankly ahead, his fingers wrapped around his glass, lost in his own thoughts. Venus turned back to Mal.
Don't say his name. I told you, there could be spies in here.
Sorry, but that's why I came. I need to find him.
You and everyone else in Subterra. What makes you think you'll get to him first? Your lock intuition?
I don't have to find him. Hazel will. Her sensors are connected to his scent, and she can find him anywhere in the bunker.
Then what do you need me for?
Because I don't know where she is.
Mal took out her VCOM and pulled up the tracking data and maps, showing them to Venus.
I know she's somewhere in this area, but I can't find her last location. There's some interference.
Go back home, girl. You'll get killed down here. Or worse.
I have to find her and use her to get to Ace, Please, Venus, you have to help me. I don't have anyone else I can turn to.
Venus stared at Mal and realized she wasn't going to talk her out of this.
Fine, your funeral. I don't know. This is still a very big area. She could be anywhere.
I think the interference to the signal might have been caused by some igneous formations, or maybe a lava tube, or...
Obsidian. Obsidian Star, yes. She could be there.
I've never heard of it.
It won't be on any map of Subterra. It's a secret place. A dangerous place. Lots of bad things going on there. I spent some time in Obsidian Star when I first came to Subterra. It's a dark corner of this bunker you don't easily forget. Wait. What kind of model is Hazel?
She's a Darva model. Why?
Venus smiled curiously and nodded her head.
I've heard rumors of a bot in the fighting pits of Obsidian Star. A Darva model that just arrived recently, unbeaten in many fights.
Mal lunged across the bar and hugged Venus's neck.
That's her! It's Hazel!
Okay, girl, you're choking me.
Mal sat back down and handed the VCOM back to Venus.
Mark it on the map for me.
No, Mal, you can't go there. Call your mother and have her send some goons to pick up the bot.
My mother doesn't know I'm here. And I don't have a choice. I have to do this.
You're making a very big mistake, but nothing I say is going to stop you, is it?
Venus marked the position for Obsidian Star on the VCOM and handed it back to Mal, shaking her head.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
Thanks, Venus. I owe you.
Yes, you do. And I'll be expecting the customary lock gratuity.
Mal smiled back, shouldered her pack, and quickly left the spelunker through the back door. The older miner turned his head almost imperceptibly to watch as Mal slipped out of the bar. Carter, Ace, and the miners exited the tunnel and arrived in a large man-made chamber. The room was dominated by a heavy piece of machinery, a platform designed to transport ore up from the mines to the smelters and processing stations. Carter went to the controls and powered the machine up as the motors roared to life with a loud rumble of pistons.
This lift will take us to Oxford Turn. We're nearly there.
The miners and Ace stepped through a gate and walked onto the platform. Carter finished entering the commands and also stepped on. There was a jolt as the lifter engaged, and then they started to slowly descend.
I have nothing to say to the miners. Just let me go.
Please, Ace. There's a man down here you have to meet. He's a lock, but he's...
Carter didn't get to finish his sentence because Ace turned quickly and threw a hard punch that landed on Carter's jaw, knocking him to the deck. The miners started to rush at Ace, but Carter quickly held up a hand to keep them at bay. Carter rubbed his chin and smiled up at Ace.
Why, Ace? You've changed.
But Ace kept his fist up, ready to strike again if Carter tried to get up. Ace was tired of being lied to. He wanted answers.
You were as good as dead on the surface. You shouldn't be here right now.
You're right about that. I should have died. I thought I had. But I had more to do here.
Tell me what happened. Now!
Carter sighed and wiped a trickle of his blood from the corner of his mouth. He slowly got to his feet.
Fine. You deserve the truth. After you closed the pressure door, I must have blacked out. I woke up eventually, but I'm not sure how much time had passed. I crawled all around the perimeter of the surface bay. It was on the other side that I found a steam exhaust vent that seemed to be out of operation. I managed to get the cover off and climbed inside, but I failed to notice a jagged shard of metal and...
Carter trailed off and pointed at the long scar on his face. Ace felt no pity for the man and pointed at him.
Then what?
It was a tight space, but I was able to lower myself down into the vent. I heard a sound, and the air around me started to become uncomfortably warm. I realized the steam vent was operational. It had just been dormant.
Carter opened his cloak and shrugged off the garment, letting it fall to the floor. Ace could now see that Carter's arms and legs were covered in scars.
Though I was consumed by terrible pain, I continued to climb down. Eventually, I made it to an abandoned mine shaft and wandered, nearly blind, until I found some miners who took me to Ganon. His healers patched me up, and I joined them. I don't know how I was able to survive, but I did, and I know it had everything to do with my faith in the Sun God. Mal was right, Ace. There is no life on the surface. I did wrong by you, Ace, and now I'm trying to make up for it.
Liar!
Ace lunged at Carter, yanking the knife from his belt. Carter didn't try to stop him. Ace held the blade at Carter's throat.
Take my life as payment. If that repays my debt to you, so be it. Do what you have to do, Ace. But believe what I've told you. You are a hero to the miners, and to all of the unchipped. They saw you. They heard your words, and it gave them hope.
Why should I believe anything that comes out of your mouth?
But Ace was unsure, and he pulled back the knife slightly and stared at Carter.
I met a great man down here. All I ask is that you meet with Ganon. Talk to him. He's not like the other Locks. He cares about his people. He cares about us. Just hear what he has to say.
Ace lowered the knife and took a step back. The miners relaxed, but held their positions nearby.
I am just a messenger, Ace, but hear Ganon out. Then you can do whatever you want.
Ace paused for a moment, considering everything Carter had just told him, then made his decision. No. I'm going to find Hazel.
Ganon can help you find her. He has the resources.
No. I'm going to find her now.
Fine. We will go with you and look for her, but after we find her, promise me that you will meet with Ganon. We all risked our lives to steal you away from Dalton.
Ace finally nodded, flipped the knife in the air, and caught it by the blade. He offered it back to Carter. Carter sighed, and all the tension suddenly left his body. He smiled and took back his knife before facing the miners.
Listen up, new plan. Let's go find his bot.
Subterra. Written and produced by Steve Kruger and Warren Davis. Narrated by Marty Yu. Performed by Cece Boyce, Jenette Goldstein, Kyle Borneheimer, John Sylvain, Doug Perkins, Hugh Fink, Matt Williams, Steve Kruger, and Marty Yu.